What's up, and welcome to the video. Today we are talking about the 2022 iPad Pro. This newest one was just updated internally with the Apple M2, and honestly, if you didn't know any better, you could very easily mistake this iPad Pro for the M1 iPad Pro that came out a year and a half ago, and nobody would blame you in the slightest. So let's talk about what's new and ultimately if the 2022 iPad Pro is worth your money. Let's get into it. Now, before we get into the very minor differences between M1 iPad Pro and M2 iPad Pro, I just wanted to very quickly just cover what all is the same between the previous and next gen, and that is like essentially everything. Like the display technology between previous gen 11-inch and 12.9 is the same. So you have LEDs on the 11, mini LEDs on the 12.9. Speaker array is the same, microphone array is the same, cameras on the back are the same. The overall hardware and design looks exactly the same, and we don't want to recycle old content from one review to another. So if you're interested in learning more about this iPad from like a hardware perspective, all the things that are essentially similar across a generation, you can check out our previous M1 iPad Pro review. Which side is it? Is it this side? I think it's this side. Now there is one thing that you'll be able to discern externally between previous gen and next gen, and the next gen now says iPad Pro on the back, so you can distinguish amongst your peers that you are the true professional. The most obvious difference between previous gen and next gen is obviously going to be the upgrade in Apple Silicon. So we are now rocking with the Apple M2 chip, which is also found in the 2022 MacBook Air and the latest 13-inch MacBook Pro that still has the touch bar. Obviously, you're going to get a slight bump in performance. So CPU performance is up 18% on M2 compared to M1, and GPU performance is up 35% on M2 compared to M1. But I mean, here's the deal, right? When you look back at the M1 iPad Pro, that was already like super powerful, like to the point where I had no issues doing anything that I needed to on that previous gen iPad, including editing, 4K video that I imported from my iPhone and editing that in an application like Premiere Rush, exporting it and stuff like that. That iPad flew through something like that with no problem. This iPad does the same exact thing. Like it's obviously great to have the bump in Apple Silicon, but I think the previous iPad, I'm pretty sure we defined it as overkill, if I remember correctly. If we didn't, it definitely was from a performance perspective. This iPad is just double overkill. I mean, there's a lot of performance power going on here, and we'll touch on it later in the video in terms of like what Apple should think about potentially doing with this much power built into a really sleek form factor like this. But yeah, the M2 is here. It's ultra powerful. It's still overkill. Outside of that, there are really only two upgrades, if you will, from previous gen to next gen. One of them, I honestly don't know if you're going to get any use case scenario out of, and the other one, I don't understand why it's only exclusive to the M2 iPad Pro, but we'll get into that. So the first one is the M2 iPad Pro can now record video in ProRes format, which if you guys watched whenever Apple unveiled the iPad Pro, they're on like a movie set, right? And this guy has this like gigantic gimbal and the iPad Pro's in it or whatever. And I think it's like an action scene, a car drives by and everything. And this guy pans the iPad Pro and records the action scene as it's going on and stuff like that. I can't think of a single use case scenario where I'm going to record ProRes on the iPad Pro as opposed to like recording ProRes on my iPhone. And also, if you go looking for ProRes to record in like your settings in your native camera option, it's actually not built into the native camera app right now. I don't know if that's something that's coming in the future, but as it stands right now, like as we're making this video, you have to download a third-party application to actually access ProRes on the iPad Pro. So I've always said it in previous iPad reviews, like don't take photos or videos with your iPad. The option's here if you need to, but you have so many other better options. I promise. Please don't do that. And the second upgrade is the ability to hover over your display with the second generation Apple Pencil, and you'll now see like a little like animation or like almost like a preview, if you will, of like certain actions that you're going to do on the display. So like take the home screen, for example. If you were to hover over an application, the application almost lifts more towards the top of the display to show you that you're about to open it. And one cool thing that I saw out of something like this was like if you're in the markup application and you select like a highlighter or something, as you hover over your display, you'll get a little preview that shows you where you're about to make your mark, and some cool features like that. That one is apparently only exclusive to the M2. I don't understand what the M2 does differently compared to the M1, that it's only exclusive on this generation of iPad. I'm guessing it's just a selling feature. But again, that's not something that I got too much use case scenario out of. If you are someone that uses that feature a lot, please let me know in the comment section how you use it. I would love to get some ideas from you. But those are essentially the two changes. And ultimately, that brings me to something that I'm pretty sure we touched on even on our M1 iPad Pro review, and that's that this is a very powerful and capable iPad, and it does do a lot of great work. Like, you are capable of doing a lot of powerful workflows with this iPad Pro. Like in the example I mentioned earlier in the video, I'm fully capable of importing multiple minute 4K video onto this iPad, importing it to Premiere Rush, editing the video, adding voiceovers, cuts, animation effects, a whole bunch of other different things, and then exporting it and getting it ready to upload onto a platform like YouTube. You can absolutely do something like that with the M1 or the M2 iPad Pro, but I still feel like this software, even with iPadOS 16, just leaves a little bit to be desired. Not that it's a letdown in any way, but I just think to myself, I'm like, Apple is continuing to make it more powerful. They switched from M1 to M2. They're trying to add some interesting, innovative features like the hover feature with the Apple Pencil. They're clearly trying to accelerate the iPad Pro, right? Like, keep moving it forward. But I feel like if they were to focus on, at least maybe for the iPad Pros, making the software a little bit more powerful for the type of hardware that we're working with here, I feel like this iPad Pro could achieve so much more than it already does. I don't like to look at the iPad Pro as like a MacBook replacement, because that's not why this product line exists in the first place. But I would like the iPad Pro to at least be, and this is in my opinion, but at least be better than the MacBook in more than just drawing and illustrations with the Apple Pencil and like a very, very good note-taking device, if that makes sense. It's just tough to see. Like, if you're not someone who's going to be using the Apple Pencil a ton, or you may be using this in a classroom and taking a lot of handwritten notes, I just don't know why you would gravitate towards the iPad Pro compared to something like an M2 MacBook Air or an M1 Pro or M1 Max MacBook Pro that can essentially do a lot of what this can outside of certain accessories like the Apple Pencil. Now, as far as pricing goes, Apple kept that the same, even with all the new stuff on board. So the 11-inch starts at $799 and the 12.9-inch starts at $1099. Now that is for Wi-Fi only and 128 gigs of storage. And Apple gives you plenty of storage configurations as well. You can use 256, 512, 1 terabyte, 2 terabyte. And you know, the prices will vary based on whether or not you just want Wi-Fi only or you want Wi-Fi and cellular. Now here's the thing, if you're on the market for an iPad Pro, you absolutely have to have one. I would definitely take a look and see if you can find a discounted M1. I feel like if you can find an M1 at a reduced price, that is a much better value for your money, because the M1 does 99% of what this iPad Pro does, and you're not even going to notice the performance difference, in my opinion. So if you're okay with not having ProRes video on your iPad Pro and also the little hover with the Apple Pencil, I think a discounted M1 iPad Pro is a much better buy for your money than a full-priced M2 iPad Pro. But let me know what you think about this particular iPad in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed the review, hit the like and subscribe button down below if you're new. And as always, I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.